I'm singing Limp Bizkit. I'm gonna do things my way. It's my way or the highway.
What?
You're pretending to have presbycusis. Is it? Are we recording?
I put it on, 30 seconds ago.
I like doing that where you don't even tell us. I feel like that makes it far more. I feel like if you don't do that, I have trouble being a real person.
Authentic. Yeah, we've been working a lot on authenticity.
I've trouble being an authentic person when I know that the recording thing is on.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. We keep things real over here at Med Scare.
There's literally a half a person listening that's going to get that reference. But
Med Scare?
Yeah.
Probably.
I did want to talk about something serious for a moment, and that is what I perceive to be sort of selective hearing, that in some ways is interfering with a healthy relationship between Dr. P and I. So, I'll have to constantly remind Dr. P about things, our friend anniversary, for example.
What?
And, I don't remember you saying that. Well, maybe you should get your ears checked, okay? And
wait, what did you just say?
Well, you remember our friend anniversary? I sent you those flowers. Now, to be totally serious, if it was an emerge or urgent care presentation, you would want to determine whether there was any serious etiology. So, for example, stroke can present that way.
I was about to ask that.
Yeah, any sort of barotrauma that not only can damage tympanic membrane, which is normally not a huge deal, it regenerates fairly effectively. But if any of the ossicles are damaged, that can be very serious, lead to persistent hearing loss. So, assuming that this person wasn't just involved in an explosion or doesn't have other focal neurologic symptoms, I think we can put away the crash cart for the moment and start collecting a history and proceed to a physical exam. So I'm going to assume for a moment that this is Dr. P, and indeed there's an underlying organic process explaining his selective hearing. So let's examine this patient and find out if there's an excuse for sort of willful ignorance in terms of neglecting our friendship.
Yeah, I was tired of hearing your voice, so I put fucking wax in my ears.
So I just crammed the wax deeper and deeper into my ear with a Q-tip. So in all seriousness, I would probably venture to say the most common modifiable cause of hearing loss. That is cerumen impaction. You see it all the time. And it's very important in advance of any audiology to ensure that ears have been flushed. So this is especially relevant in the age of digital healthcare, that is virtual healthcare, to make sure that you actually visualize ear, do otoscopy, and see if there is, for example, cerumen impaction. At the bedside, you can easily do flushing. Just be careful. You can penetrate people's eardrums, so make sure that you have a bit of experience and go nice and slow.
I've done that before.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I saw a whole bunch of earwax in there, spent like 10 minutes trying to flush it out, gave it a little too much of a squeeze at one point, and they're like, whoop, and I'm like, what? And they're like, I don't know. And then I look in the ear and I see a busted ass eardrum. And I'm like, oh my fuck. Shit happens. But ultimately
you broke his eardrum?
Yeah, I busted the eardrum. But I was just trying to keep it real. I didn't want to change the person from who they were when they came in.
Yeah, and I mean, you weren't doing when you were taking that stuff out. You didn't feel like being very mindful about it while you were taking out the earwax. But like, I feel like, and you knew that you might bust his eardrum by doing that. But I feel like you felt that was a sacrifice you're willing to make.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
So cerumen impaction. That's one thing that we can consider. Another common conductive sourse of hearing loss would be acute otitis media. So the old ear infection. Yeah, the tympanic membrane perforation, cholesteatoma, which is actually neither related to cholesterol or tumors, but we can get into that later. One thing we should talk about is the difference between conductive and sensory neural hearing loss, since we're going through the differential here. Yeah. So in general, the way that I would think about it is conductive hearing loss. So this is the conduction of sound to the cochlea. It's impaired. So the external sound doesn't reach the middle ear. And this is most often caused by external and middle ear disease. Whereas with sensory neural hearing loss, then we're going to be looking at the issues with the inner ear, the cochlea, the auditory nerve. So basically there's a defect in the conversion of the sound into the neural signals, or an issue with the transmission of those signals to the cortex. So those are our two main kind of categories, and we can have mixed presentations as well. So the conductive hearing impairment, sensory hearing impairment combination. So that in itself is high yield knowledge. You're going to certainly encounter that on your exams. I would say the next thing that I would strongly recommend to memorize is the physical exam, the Rene and the Weber tests. If somebody's coming in with hearing loss, the audiogram is gold standard, but for the fucking nerd that carries around a tuning fork in their pocket, I guess you can do a Rene and Weber. So Rene, however you pronounce it, this is the one where you are going to strike the tuning fork and you're going to place it under the mastoid process, or on the mastoid process. And when you're going to ask the patient to tell you when they can't hear the tuning fork anymore, and then at that point you will bring the tuning fork over to their ear, the tip of the tuning fork. And if they have conductive hearing loss, then the bone conduction will be louder than the air conduction, because in a normal ear, air conduction is louder than bone conduction. A loud sound is going to be louder next to your ear rather than transmitted through the bone. One way to kind of differentiate Rene and Weber, Rene is placed under the pinnae. So the outer ear is the pinna. And the
penis.
Yeah, so don't confuse the two. Don't place the tuning fork on the perineum.
Sir, can you hear that? Sir?
Wait, you mean that's the wrong way to do that test, dude?
Yeah.
You're saying I've been doing it all wrong. All along I've been doing it wrong.
Yeah, see, my understanding was that it conducts through the scrotum via the testicles.
Yeah, you hold the tuning fork up to the butthole. Can you hear that?
Doctor, I don't think you're doing the real test here.
Rene under the pinnae.
Yeah.
So Rene under the pinnae.
Not to be confused with the pinnae.
So we have the Rene test. The next one's the Weber. This is the one where you strike the tuning fork and place it on the top of the patient's head. And normally, the sound will move to both ears normally, and they'll hear the same level of sound on both sides. But if there is a sensory neural hearing loss, then it will localize to the good ear, meaning that the opposite ear is the one that has the sensory neural hearing loss. So Weber, you can think of it as Weber, it localizes to the left or right ear, right? Ha ha ha. Weather Weber.
Weber.